It was like very innovative for the time because it included like all different of races, skin colors, backgrounds, nationalities, body types. When you also like tour a lot, you go to see theaters that are incredible, and then you also see like theaters that are you're like, why am I here? A teacher of mine said to me, he said, if you wanna become a professional dancer, you have to go to class every day. You're older and everybody's like talented than you, but it's always gonna be like that. But then at the same time, every dancer is special in their own way, and like you bring something to the table.
Beyond the mirror, reflections of lives beyond the glass.
Well, I started dancing when I was 17. I moved to New York City almost like a year and a half later. I was already 19. So actually, I started dancing when I was almost 18, and I moved to New York City in 2013. And then I've been dancing since professionally. I mean, I came here to study, but after that, I stayed to work as a full-time artist.
Which company are you right now?
I am dancing currently with Complexions Contemporary Ballet.
Contemporary ballet. I was wondering that when I was in the right here in the train, I was like, is contemporary dance or dance theater or ballet theater? I was like,
No, contemporary ballet.
Contemporary ballet. Can you tell us a little bit about what like Complexions do?
Okay. So Complexions was found 28 years ago, and technically, like the vision of the two directors was to like bring all people, to include everyone. So they gathered a group of different dancers with different backgrounds and different dance styles, and they made this like show. And they were not planning to make this a company, but the magic about it was it was like very innovative for the time because it included like all different of races, skin colors, backgrounds, nationalities, body types. So it was like something that the world of dance was not doing back then.
Didn't have.
And still till now, like we are one of the companies that we all don't look alike.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? Yeah, we do mostly contemporary ballet. It's a mix of different styles as well. But every day we do ballet class for warm up, but then we dive into different styles throughout the day.
Huh, that's pretty. I wanted to get into that, but I wanted to know, how did you find Complexions and like what draws you to it? And like, because you know, like I know a little bit, but like I really want to know the thought of behind that for you.
Okay, so it was funny because I feel like I knew what Complexions like existed because they used to rent studios at Gelsey where we went to school. So that was like the first time I heard about the company. And I remember sometimes like when they were like rehearsing in the space, like you would like be done with class and I would like look in and be like, oh, that seems cool, whatever. But it was actually the first time I saw them rehearse. I was at Ailey. I was taking a class, and then I was with a friend. And this was very interesting because I saw them like, doing like a little rehearsal. And I remember like all the dancers were in a line and they were doing like some leg work and like some battements, and it looked very impressive. And I was like, wow, I want to do that one day, because at the time I like contemporary, but I hated, I didn't want to dance with socks.
Okay.
So then I was like, they do ballet shoes and they do cool stuff, but they still wear ballet shoes. So that was the ballerino in me that was like kind of like showing up. And then I said to my friend, and I was like, I want to be in that company one day. And I remember this. And then how did I get in? Well, I remember I was doing a lot of auditions that year, like
It's
always.
pretty impressive because the company is very close up, right?
Yeah, we're only 16 dancers. So we are take usually like 7 men, 7 women, and then we have 2 apprentices. And I think like that's the size of the company right now as well.
I think it's a pretty good size because it's not like too big but not too small. Like you can still get to have a full stage.
You get to perform every night if you're healthy. Yeah. But then I was like, okay. I knew that they were so good, and I was like, I'm never gonna get in. But then since I was doing all of the auditions, I was like, you know what?
Why not?
You go to an audition, but you also like need to know how to audition. So I was like, this could serve you as a like practice. Like go to an audition and then you can see like what did you do wrong or whatever for the one that you think you're actually gonna get in. And then I was like, you know what, just go take class, and then it's just gonna be an experience for you to like get more comfortable at auditioning. And then they kept calling my number back. And then it ended up being a 2-day audition.
That to me is insane.
This was a Saturday. And then I had plans for that Sunday. I had a barbecue upstate New York, and it looked delicious. And when they extended the invitation for me to, finish the audition the next day, I was like, shit, I have to change my plans.
Barbecue, huh?
But I was already spending the night upstate. So I remember I took an Uber that cost me a lot to go to the second part of the audition. And I got in.
Wow. I mean, it's super, super impressive because when you guys, like when you look up the company, I saw you perform 3 years ago in Eugene. I was like, wow. Like this is something that you don't see every single day. Like just the music, the lights, the costumes, like the stage, because the stage changed depending on the
ballet that we do. Yes,
it was so impressive. I was like, wow, I really love this company, and I was so proud of you because we know we came all here together.
Yes,
so it's kind of like crazy. I mean, I remember you were the one who kind of translated for me at Gazzrj's because I didn't speak any English. You were the one who like. They are telling you to do this, and I'm like, okay.
Yes, I remember that.
It's for Complexions. Let's go into the day because I'm very curious of like how you guys handle the day, and like it's depending on the ballet, I assume. But like, did you guys have a setup schedule that like you wake up at 10 and then you go and rehearse until 4 in like a regular company, or like how does it work?
Well, it really depends. So fortunately and unfortunately, we are a touring company. So we basically have rehearsals if we have a show to do. Like, every company. But I feel like since we're based in New York, but we don't have, let's say, like our own theater or like our own studios.
Residency,
it's not like we have like a season. Like it happens all the time, like in a normal ballet company, for example. So for us, it's like, we're going on tour to California. So like, these are the ballets that we need to prepare. How many days do we need to rehearse in order to be all ready? And like, who's going to be in the cast? And then like, you rehearse accordingly. So usually, if we are busy, we rehearse Monday to Saturday.
Monday to Saturday.
We rehearse Monday to Saturday.
Okay.
10 to 6 usually. Lately, we've been doing 9 to 5, which is a little bit, but I like to get off earlier because then like I have more time for myself at night. I am not a morning person, but I don't mind waking up early.
There's a lot of time.
Yes. And then because we're usually dancing, it's very rarely that you're done before the work day ends.
Like you are mostly 9 to 5 for sure. It's not like you have a little break here and then you go there. It's
exactly.
Like you are there all the time.
Sometimes when we're doing like creation, they will let some people go early, but that's not the case. So I basically, I only make plans after because it's hard to plan your day when you know already that you're going to be busy dancing the whole time.
So you say that you guys take class every day, like ballet class? And
yes, we do an hour 15, an hour 30 of ballet class. Then we do 15-minute break. And then we rehearse until around 2:15. Then we have like 45 minutes of lunch. and then we do 3 to 6, and then every hour you get like a 5-minute break to like get water, go to the bathroom.
The company is no union, right?
We're not union.
We're no union. How? Okay, so let's go into touring. Because for me, it's such a romantical thing. Like I dream of touring, but it's kind of like you dream of it, but when you are in it, it's another story. So like I really want to know, because you have that life. You've been doing it for what, 3 years, 4 years now?
4 years already.
So like how is it touring life?
Well, I personally love to travel. So traveling for me is fun. I like to travel by car, train, bus.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is. I feel like I grew up like traveling a little bit. So it feels like comfortable for me. What's the hardest part? So it really depends. I feel like I get to see places that I've never seen before, especially because I didn't grow up here in America. So like there are a lot of like interesting things that I get to see. I get to try food. I get to try different drinks, recipes, get to meet people. So that's like a plus for me, for example. Sometimes we perform a lot while we're on tour. So then like it becomes like emotionally like you get like drained a little bit because you're performing every day, and then like you finish at like 10:30, you get to your hotel at 11, then you need to find some food to eat, and then like the next day you have to sometimes to wake up early to just like
go and do it again.
Yeah, then you don't get to rest that much, or like if you really want to like go out, is gonna have to be on your alone time that is supposed to be rest time. So it's like a little tricky. But then sometimes we have like days off in amazing cities. Let's say like this summer we went to Israel for 10 days.
That is amazing.
And then we had a day off that we all went to like Jerusalem on a day trip, so that was beautiful. Or like we were in Germany also for 3 weeks, and then we had like a day off in each city that we were there, and it was very magical as well. I think one of the things that I miss the most when I'm on tour, if it's a long one, is the ability to make my own food.
Okay, makes sense. Because in a hotel, like you can only microwave if they have a microwave.
Exactly. I feel like, every person has their own diet, and it's not like I follow a strict diet, but there are things that I like to eat. Yeah. So then that's the thing that after, a few days, sometimes it's just like so simple. Like
you just want an arepa.
Oh, that too. But like, this is going to sound very funny, but like I really eat a lot of quinoa. So then I'm just like, I just want quinoa with tomatoes and like some cheese. Like, I don't know, like it's quinoa so simple. Cheese? Yeah. I do like a little salad that is like very yummy. I do like quinoa. I put cherry tomatoes. I do goat cheese. I put cilantro, a lime, and then it's like amazing cucumbers. Yeah, it sounds weird, but it's good.
No, I feel like I can picture it. It's not bad. How is it, for example, like going into different theaters and like depending, because some theaters are union, some theaters are no. So how did you guys handle that? And like, are they sometimes like a big pain in the ass, or they became easier?
Well, I feel like you just don't have to follow the rules. So we perform in a lot of theaters that are union, so our schedule has to be very strict. Meaning like, let's say like they open the theater at 11 and we are only allowed to be in the dressing rooms. But like if we go to the stage without the approval of the stage manager,
it's a fine.
We get a penalty. I don't think it has happened to my knowledge because we're all very good at that. But like they're always reminding us like, remember, this is happening. But the good thing about being in a theater that is union sometimes is like they're very efficient with their time. So then it forces us to be also efficient with our time, which I think is the way to go. But also I feel like when you also like tour a lot, you go to see theaters that are incredible, and then you also see like theaters that you're like, why am I here?
How is this possible?
How are we gonna perform? Let's say like this season, I'm not gonna say where, wink wink, but there were like 3 trap doors. that we had to dance on top of them, and they just put Marley. But then like there's
You
always
have
a
this
little
huge bump.
a gap and a bump, and we're like we do lots of slides and turns and stuff, and then like we were all very scared to like be doing that on top of the trap door. So that was not ideal. Or like sometimes like the theater is super cold.
Yes.
So that happens, but you know what? It's part of the
job.
It's part of the job. I'm not saying it's like sometimes it's not amazing, but at the end of the day, I feel like this career is so short that like if you get to perform a lot, for me, it's very, like I feel very accomplished.
It's pretty, as you say, accomplished. It's kind of like a blessing, because a lot of people wish they get to perform that much. Because usually in a normal season, like if you're in a big company, you can perform the same ballet 4 times. And that's like saying a lot. How many times did you guys perform the same ballet?
Oh, well, it's very tricky. I feel that we have this ballet that I don't know how many times I have performed. But I would say probably close to like 100.
Wow. So it probably feels like you're doing a musical, like those Broadway musicals that go on tour. So they just do like 1 million shows. Probably
Yes.
feels like that, right?
Exactly. And that's what I was saying like earlier, when like you tour for like 2-3 weeks, you're doing usually the same program. So then like sometimes it gets easier like stamina wise, but then like it's hard for your body to be like, one more time,
I can do this.
One more day, you can do this. Exactly. And like, how do you make the show magical, and how do you bring yourself, what do you bring differently every time?
Yeah, how can you keep innovating?
Yes.
For saying a word. Wow. How did you deal with that? Because it's hard. Because like maybe let's say, I don't know, you're doing a turn and like it didn't go well, so probably in the next show you can be like, oh, I'm gonna nail this turn, or something like that. But like,
I feel like it's funny because depending on the ballet that we perform, sometimes I have like check marks.
Okay.
So it's like after I'm done with this, or like if the tricks go well, like the rest of the show is gonna be fine, or like I can relax after like this happens. Okay. Because sometimes I'm nervous about doing like certain steps or like certain jump or certain turn, and I'm like, once that happens, then I can just relax. So yeah, that happens sometimes, and I feel like you can always challenge that, like, or channel that. Of like, this worked very well yesterday, what did I do that I can be better, or like, oh, I should have done this instead. And I mean, obviously we get like notes before every show.
Oh, did you guys still get notes and everything?
Yes. So like we're performing like the same ballet like multiple times in a row, like we get notes before the next show, so we get to like we get corrections, of course, so the show stays
fresh.
Yeah, and also like in a good shape.
Yeah, I mean it's hard because it's kind of hard not to get like how to say, not used to it, but like complacent. I don't know how to say that word, but like like you're like, oh, I already did this show 100 times, so I'm okay. Like I don't need to think about it. So I like that they still give you like, oh, you were a little bit off here or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's a live theater is not perfect, and there's always something that can be better.
But that's what makes the magic, not to be perfect.
So yeah, or sometimes like it's always good to know like sometimes that you have like a relative or a friend on stage like watching the show, or like what I like to do too, like I like to ask my colleagues like, do you have any friends watching the show tonight? And if they say yes, I'm gonna be like, where are they sitting, do you know? So then like it's not like I'm trying to do that for them only, but I'm like, okay, like I'm trying to make it special at least for myself, like it feels good to like try different things and like to know that like people come to see us.
How many states did you guys have visited in the past year?
In the past year? Well, this season, I mean, we just started this season, but the past year, okay, I can probably name a couple. Let me think. We did, actually, our first tour after the pandemic that we did, we went to Latvia. So
really?
We went all the way to Europe.
Wow.
We did Latvia. I mean, we've done obviously New York City. We did New Jersey. We did Connecticut. We went to
Washington,
Indiana.
because you were close to me.
We went to Washington. We went to Florida. We went to California. Yeah, we done a pretty amount.
It's
Pretty big
amazing.
amount.
To me, it's so impressive that you guys can do that because we do little tours around where we are, and it's like so exhausting. That I always think of you. I'm like, how they can do this every single month? Or like, it's insane. And we also have like one theater that it was like a trapdoor too, and of course you are like, how am I gonna jump in here? Like, what if this trapdoor opens or something? Or I just go through.
Exactly.
Like, it's insane. The other thing that I wanted to ask, how do you found dance?
How did I?
Yeah, like what makes you start to dance? Because you started pretty late compared to a lot of people, and like mostly a lot of young kids here or everywhere that like, I started when I'm 2, and you're like, I started when I was almost 18.
Yes. I feel like, growing up, I was always attracted to the arts, but I don't think I had like the opportunity to like study or like to do it with like a professional teacher or something. So it was always like a hobby, like, I like to sing, or like, should I act? I want to learn an instrument. I want to dance. So it was always like that dilemma of like what to do. But then like at the end of the day, I was not really doing anything because it was not an option for me. And then, when I graduated from high school, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? But I graduated also early. I turned 16, and then like the week after I graduated. It was like youngish. So I had time to like think what to do. And then, the internet, I was watching videos and I was like, I want to do that. Like, that looks so cool. And then, you start like Googling, like, what do I need to do? Which is very funny, like how to become a dancer. What do you need? Like, those like,
cliche things.
Yeah, those like books for dummies. That's how I felt like
how
me,
to
like
be good.
Googling. And then, like after that, then I was like, okay, this is what I want. And then, like there was only one way to do it. And it was just like, putting myself out there and like jump. Even I didn't even know like what I was doing.
What were you
at
jumping
the time.
into?
Especially also like, when I decided to move to New York, I only planned to be here for 3 weeks.
Oh, really?
And then I only packed like a little suitcase with like things for the summer. And then when I decided to stay because they offered me the scholarship for the year round, I was like, okay, I'm staying, but I didn't have anything. So I don't think I would do that ever again, but I'm glad I did.
I'm so happy you did, because a lot of people just live in fear of taking just one simple step. You took a huge step from Colombia to New York.
I probably didn't know what I was getting myself into.
But that's even better.
But I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah. So how did you find Gilses? Just in the internet?
No.
Okay.
So I was taking ballet classes back home. And then there was this Colombian teacher that came to my studio to teach a master class. And then I remember my teacher was like, you need to go take her class. And I was like, okay, fine. So I went to take her class, and then I'm sure like they were talking to each other before, like, oh my God, like we have this student, he wants to like take this seriously or whatever. And then she was like, I work in this school. They always need, they're always looking for people. They give scholarships, and, send your video and then like see what they answer. And I remember that I had no idea how to make an audition video. So I asked,
like most of us still don't know how to make an audition video.
That too. But oh Lord. But I remember that I asked my teacher, I was like, can I film myself taking your class? So she was like, yes, for sure. So like we just did like the normal class she was teaching that day, and then I made sure like I was on this angle that like where my camera can like, where I could be on the frame. And then I just press record, and then it's just me taking the class, and there's like more dancers in the back too.
Oh, you can see everybody.
That was my audition video. It was just like everybody in class. And then anyway, so I sent it to Gelsey, and then I got an invitation for the summer. And I think the rest is like history.
History. Wow. That is crazy. I didn't know that's how it started.
Yeah.
Because when I met you were already there.
I was already there.
Wow. It's insane. I can't believe how long it has been in everything. But it's also pretty good and like inspiring for a lot of people that you don't have to start young to be good.
Okay.
As long as you have the desire and the wanting to be better and to do it, you can make it happen.
Yeah.
And you are life proof of that. And like pretty good company, because there is a lot of people who are like, I will never get into this company because I'm too old, or like I started too old. And it's like, no, like, I mean, look at you. Like, being in Complexions.
Yeah,
like,
of course. Like I had the same mentality at some point for sure, because like you doubt yourself because
so
you're
much.
like you're older and everybody's like talented than you.
You always think of that, yeah.
But it's always gonna be like that. But then at the same time, like you also like every dancer is special in their own way, and like you bring something to the table. It wasn't easy, of course. Like a lot of like work that I had to do, but I feel like everyone has to do hard things in order to get better. It's never easy.
It will never be easy. I feel like even for us, I mean, for me, it's kind of interesting because I have so many injuries that I feel like that's what is making me understand my body better. Okay. Like it took me forever because I feel like before, like I could do it, but I think it's because I was doing it for so long that my body kind of was in autopilot. Like I knew how to do it, but like I would never was like, this is what is working in my brain, and like this is how I activate this muscle. This is how I do this. And now with so many injuries, I'm like, oh, this is how you actually do it. This is what you need to engage. Yeah. How did you feel about that? Like, have you been finding that with yourself? Like,
I feel like there are things that I kind of do like I used to before. The body changes all the time.
Yeah, that also, because we also change so much.
But I feel like, like you're mentioning injuries. I feel like once you learn your body more and then you learn like some exercises that like help you do stuff, you're always discovering like, wow, it took me this long in order for me to achieve these. But yeah, I feel like it's a process. But yeah, I feel like with the experience, you just need to really like, listen to your body when it's like really not feeling well.
What is your favorite dance? Like, what is your favorite thing to do when you're dancing? Like, what do you think?
What do I think?
When you're dancing, when you're having this?
Well, I always make a story in my mind. So not all the ballets that we do are like a specific story. I don't think any of them. But like you can always find like situations or like, they tell us like what the show is about. So then like I always try to find myself like in this little like movie, like a little fantasy, and then I go from there. I feel like I like the theatrical part of dance a little bit more. So I feel like I can always play with like that and then use those expressions and feelings in order to move.
I can totally see you there because I was that I picture you. I have something in mind. I remember when we were doing a Sleeping Beauty, and I don't know how are their names, Minions or something. In the Minions, act, right? I always remember your face. It's because you were in it, and that's something that I kind of going back to what you said about like every dancer has his unique talent. I feel like that's kind of like your stronger suit. Like you can turn it on and you go for it. Like you are not thinking of like, what is this guy thinking of me? Like when I make this face. No, you are like, I'm here to be that character. Like I don't give a shit.
Oh my
about
god, I
else.
forgot that we did that role. And now that I think about it, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was so hard. Oh my god, it was such a like lot of stamina. The variation is so fast. But yeah.
But that is a stronger suit. Like I really like that. And like sometimes it's hard for a lot of people to get into character because they get in their head about like, oh, this person is looking at me or this. And it's like, no, just live the second and live the moment.
I usually for sure don't think about the step. I feel like the moment I start questioning like what's next, that's when I make mistakes. I don't think I'm like it's not like I get distracted, but I feel like like it really helps to be in the moment. And like, like dance is so hard. Might as well enjoy it.
Yes.
Especially when you're performing. So like, okay, I'm assuming like of course we all worry when we're in the studio and whatever, but like, like you just have to be confident and go for it. Sometimes it doesn't work, but hey.
What is the most bizarre thing that has happened on stage? On tour or like?
On tour, okay. I'm getting injured on stage.
Oh, really?
Has happened. I have this is gonna be funny. I have hypermobile shoulders, so they dislocate sometimes. And yeah, that happened on stage one time.
It happened on stage, but like
it has happened twice performing.
But did it went back out and then back in, or?
So it was out, and then like my partner, I was like doing like a little partnering section with this guy. And it's funny because usually when it pops out, my arm is like on this position. But then this time he grabbed my arm and I was relaxed and he pulled it too hard and it went out.
Ooh.
So I was not expecting it. So then like he took me off stage, and then like I put it back in, and it was funny because like 30 seconds later, I'm like in already, like continuing doing the show. Also, like, it was not the first time it has happened. So, like, whatever. And, like, I knew I could push it a little bit more. I'm not saying it was, like, ideal, but, like, I don't know. I knew I could, like, finish the show. So
also the adrenaline and, like, all the things of a show, it helps a lot. It's kind of like when a runner or somebody in an athlete gets an injury, like, they can still push it, but that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
But also, like, it's not like I felt the pressure to finish, but also, like, it's a ballet that I do a lot of partnering, but also like alone on stage. So then it's not like, oh yeah, like it's weird. Like there's like Miguel is missing and then that's it. It's like there's just Miguel and somebody else dancing for like a while. Like who's gonna cover that? Because sometimes like somebody gets injured, like
somebody else can jump in.
And then somebody else can jump in, or like, okay, maybe the formation is not like the way it was designed, but then like only if the ballet, there's a hole, like there's a part missing, and like nobody else suffers.
Does that happen? Like, have you guys jump in? This is kind of random. I just thought about it. Did you guys know each other's dance, like parts? Are they the same, or like how different are they from each other?
So, this is a good question. I feel like it really depends. It's not like, sometimes you have understudies, but we're such a small company that like we're basically dividing like two groups. Actually, well, like say like two groups and like two divisions of each group. So it's like, like men and women, right? And then it will be like short people, tall people.
Okay.
And then like whatever category you're in, then it's not like you have to know it, but like, I pay attention to like the short people do. For the most part, because it's weird because I'm a happy medium. I'm like the tallest of the short men, and then definitely the shortest of the tall, because we're like an uneven number, so like it always like changes. So when we do creation, we usually, the way Dwight choreographs, he does phrases for everyone, and then he changes things, and then he adds and he takes. So it's like I already know if it's a ballet that I've been part of like since day one. Section. So I know like kind of like many phrases, many things. So like that gives you like an idea of like what the ballet is or like where it goes. But also like this is a personal thing that I do. I like to watch if I'm not dancing. So like if I'm not performing, I'm gonna be watching on my colleagues. If I'm in the studio and like somebody else is doing a part, occasionally I like I turn around and drink water and like talk with someone, but like I always pay attention to like what they do. So after you watch, then like the step in a way. So like sometimes like it has happened that you just have to like jump in for someone. I don't think I have done it on stage like directly, like somebody got injured, like I do it right in, but it has happened that, like an hour before the show,
Oof.
I am learning and rehearsing a little bit with like people and partnering and like clarifying things because somebody cannot perform, and then you have to cover for them. Yes, that has happened.
I mean, you guys do so many shows, and like it's on tour. It's a tour life, and it's not like you can be like, oh, let's go just call this guy that is here.
Exactly, that is true. It's like if we're on tour, it's like who is available, who's not doing this section, who can do this. It's always like
such a puzzle.
It is a puzzle.
It's pretty interesting. I love it. To me, that's the most interesting thing. Like I'm like, wow, because again, I romanticize the thing of like going to tour. Did you guys have sets? Like, did you guys have to help, let's say, like with loadouts or load-ins or like knowing like the lighting designer or things like that?
No, not at all. The company travels with the light supervisor and like our stage manager and our company manager. So we don't have to do anything. And when it comes to props, I don't think we have many, or like the ballets that we're doing lately, we don't have many. Of course, like the company has done pieces with props. We're just responsible of, going to wardrobe and getting your costume and like making sure you have all the pieces that you have. Yeah. But besides that, that's not part of our job, thank God.
Yeah, no,
but
that's good.
But yeah, I feel like the company travels with like all those people that help also backstage in order for us to have like the best show
a successful
ever.
Show, yeah. Because probably not all the stages have the same lighting, or they cannot do the same lights every single time. So
sometimes we have to change.
Probably difficult.
This is also like, it's good that you're mentioning this because like you said a ballet and like this is the formation, but then like sometimes like the theater is too big or like too wide, so then it's like, oh, instead of you being on quarter you have to be on eighth, or like no, you have to be between eighth and quarter. So like formation is always like something that I'm gonna say we struggle a lot with, or I do. Not because I don't know where to stand, it's because like it changes every time. So sometimes it's like, no, you're like, there's too many people on stage, so like they will cut like a few couples, or like the formation will be like, oh, Miguel, like for this time, like you don't do this, or like, oh, because of this, then you're gonna be center.
That is pretty interesting. It's crazy. But how much can you guys change it? Like, how much do they care, like the directors, about like, oh, these shades were not great, or like?
I feel like you just have to work with what you have, like ideally, of course, like nobody wants to keep changing stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is also like
tour life, you have to adapt.
Yes. And it also happens because we are different people and different dancers. So it's like if somebody gets injured and then we have to change the formations because let's say like maybe I cannot partner like somebody else that is going to be probably too tall for me. So then, it's part of like the good and bad things that we have is, since we're that different, the pieces are always changing in order to accommodate the group.
What is your favorite piece with Complexions that you have done?
The favorite one that I've done? It was actually my first creation. So when I joined in 2018. And then we did a premiere in January of 2019 of this ballet called Woke. And it's basically it's like a daily reaction. It's a reaction to the daily news.
Okay.
So it was like whatever was happening in the world at that time. It was just like, like a little, I don't want to use the word protest, but it's just like, like a statement of like what was happening. So
it's the name of it.
Yeah, it's a very good ballet because I get to explore different characters.
Okay.
So that's why I like it so much. And also like I feel like it has a deep meaning to me since it was the first one. Like the first ballet that it was choreographed for me.
For you, yeah, like thinking on
Yes.
you, like the guy was thinking of Miguel.
Exactly.
That is exciting.
So yeah, that's my favorite one so
How
far.
did you feel, for example, like having that people so creative about like choreography and all of these things? Because the shows, again, when I saw it, I was like, this is innovative. Like just the lighting, just the, how did you feel about like that? That's those things inspire you, or like make you feel like, oh, I could do things like this? Like, do you feel like you could go into like that type of choreography style or something like that? Or
I feel like it's hard because I haven't seen. This is funny. I haven't seen the company perform ever. You know, like I've always been inside. So yes, you watch videos, but that first impression of like, wow, that's like what they do is incredible, or like what we do is incredible. Like I've never experienced that. And I guess like I will the day I decide to retire, I guess. And when it comes to the inspiration, I feel like, especially to be a choreographer nowadays, you really have to like, you have to be a genius, and you need to like, you know, I feel like it's so easy to just create and say like, oh, this is something that I'm doing and whatever. And I feel like it goes beyond that, because I feel like maybe like people say that everybody can do it, but like not everybody can really do art, you know, like it has to transform, and it needs to be an experience, but it has to be legit, you know?
yeah.
So then I feel like, I don't know if I will be a good choreographer, but I definitely like to explore and work with different people, because I like to think, I like to learn the way people think.
The way people think. I like that too. Also, every single dancer is so different. I feel like you have to really understand you people to make the best choreographer. It's a little bit kind of what you say, like, yes, everybody can do it, but not everybody can make art. Because it's kind of like songs. Everybody can make a song. That doesn't mean you are making a good art song.
And it doesn't mean it's gonna be, well, of course, like with the industry, it's also like about selling, because people need money and need to whatever.
Everybody needs to eat. Yeah.
But like, yeah, it has to like, for me, it has to transcend.
Yeah.
Is that the word?
Yeah. But
because otherwise it's just like, you know, like has no meaning. It's
like,
just,
what is the point?
Like, I take this seriously, so like I want to do a good job.
What do you think the future holds
For me?
for Miguel?
Oh, I feel like in the ideal world, once I stop dancing, I feel like, because this is something that I always wanted to do, I feel like I still want to be involved in the dance world somehow. And at this moment, I can't really name anything, but I don't think I'm going to be like, oh, tomorrow I'm just going to be
A lawyer.
I don't think that's going to happen. Of course, I'm not
never
gonna
know?
say, I'm not gonna say like that's never gonna happen, but I don't think I'm gonna like just disconnect from this art form, or like that's how I feel today.
Okay, I like that. What would you do to inspire a young 17, 18-year-old dancer or wannabe dancer?
What would I do? I feel like, you know, I remember like a teacher of mine said to me, he said, if you want to become a professional dancer, you have to go to class every day.
Simple but effective.
And I feel like I took that very seriously, because even when we were in school, I was like, if I could take like an extra class, I would wake up early to go to take that extra class, because I was like, I need to do that. I'm not saying like that's the only way to do it, but I feel that was a piece of advice that he was giving to me, and it worked. And I feel like, yeah, you have to do the work.
No, I like that, because sometimes the simpler the thing, the most effective it is.
And also don't compare. I feel like if you compare with other dancers, which we all do, because it's a human thing.
We live in a society with Instagram and TikTok and all these things where all we do is compare ourselves 24/7 with the person who can do everything you can.
And this is something that I've learned Now from experience, oh my God, I sound so old. No, it is true.
You're
Because I
young.
remember when I was younger and I was like, let's say like working in a company and I'll be like, why is that person doing this role? I can do it better. And technically, maybe I could have done it better. But then like the presence of the artistry, like wasn't there yet for me, you know, like, and it's interesting because now I see like very talented dancers and I'm like, oh my God, they're so good. They're better than me. But then like at the end of the day, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's why you're 17, like you're saying, you know, like when it's time to perform a role or like be very specific with the character that you are, like the expressing the feelings or like the quality of the movement, experience comes it's very handy. And then it's something that I realized very recently that I was like, wow, I remember when I was like very impatient because I was like, why am I not dancing this thing when I can do it better? And then now I'm like, wow, I get it why it wasn't for me at that time.
I had the same realization not long ago too, where I was like, I could do that too. Like, why am I not doing it? And now I'm like, I get it. Like, I didn't have that special something that required that. Not because I didn't have the skills. It's because you are missing that experience, that extra thing. Maybe just get it into character. Maybe just the way you just give your hand. But it was missing.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I'm like, I get it why they didn't put me in it.
Yeah.
Like, I totally understand it. And like, I'm glad at the same time. It's kind of annoying that you realize it so later on.
I know. I wish I knew. I was like, yeah, you just have to be patient.
Yes.
Don't compare because your time is going to come.
But it's so hard to hold that and like to understand it because when you realize it, you're like, yes, I get it. But I wish I got it 10 years ago.
Oh, true.
You know?
That's a good advice, I guess.
It's a great advice. All right, Miguel. Thank you so much for coming.
Of course.
Thank you so much for doing this for me.
My pleasure. And it was so much fun. Also, I don't know, did we tell them how do we know each other? Probably not.
No, we didn't. But we can do another one later.
Okay, part 2 will come at some point.
Yeah, if you guys like this, please don't forget to subscribe, comment, follow Miguel, follow Complexions, and hope to see you guys soon. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Mirror. If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit follow or subscribe so you can stay up to date on new episodes. Until next time.